Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empowering mentality to make real change in the world. This is Coach King. Um, I am going to talk about one of the hardest things about leadership. And so today, this morning, leadership is not about just doing the work. It's not about uh, just uh, leading people, although it's very simple. It's deciding what not to do, actually. You weren't expecting that one. Neither was I when I was looking at this. So one of the hardest things about leadership is not doing the work. It's deciding on what not to do. So think about that. So when you have been given projects and the responsibility of the projects begin to grow, increase, your team growth is happening, the expectations from managers are starting to increase. What also happens, the pressure to multitask is to take control of the whole thing starts to become overwhelming. And it's like you can't even, it's like a fish, like swimming in the ocean, like a goldfish in the ocean. I use the water analogies because water is movement, it's powerful, but it also is an illustration of you don't know what's out there. And leadership is a lot like that, in my opinion. And so when you're managing people, you're managing the operation, the performance, the communication, the emails, the all of those things. You've got to prioritize, emails that are coming in to you. For example, you might have several different departments. These are for your multi-departmental leaders, people who have their tentacles all over the operations of the organization. And when you're managing these type of things, it can become overwhelming at times, especially when change is on the horizon, when there's a new process that needs to get out. And as at like a supervisor level, you have to make sure that the team is implementing these things. And then at the managerial level, you have to make sure your supervisors understand what it is the expectations are, right? And so suddenly everything on your list to do just grows. The to-do list becomes ginormous. You have sticky notes stuck on your computer. You have a wall of sticky notes. You may have a whiteboard of various ideas. You may have like several notebooks piled on top of each other. So then the real question becomes, how do leaders like myself prioritize my time wisely? And then also, how do we know when to hold a responsibility or to release it? So let's anchor this today. So we go to scripture, and Psalms 90:12 says, "Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." Teach us to number our days, that we may gain a heart of wisdom. So teaching us, who's going to teach us, right? Who's teaching us? So there's various ways. God will send you a mentor to teach you management. It's important to have some type of mentor, some type of role model. Or if you don't have that, observe those who are doing it. Get close to those who are doing it. Put yourself in an environment so that you can learn how to number your days. Numbering your days is not necessarily waiting for the world to end, right? Oh my gosh, my days are numbered, right? No, teach us how to number our days. It's teaching us how to become ordered, right? This is an administration thing. So the Bible's saying, teach us how to number our days. how to number our days. You can number your days. You could start at the top and go down. You could go in a circle like a clock. However, whatever works, this is about organizing yourself. And then we can gain a heart of wisdom. The heart in this case, and at least the way I've been taught, is that the heart is the subconscious thing. It's the thing that you can do without having to really think too hard about it. We want to gain this, not autopilot mode, but we want to be able to put ourselves in a position to where it's easier. We are in an age where productivity is king, right? And so we want to gain a heart of wisdom in numbering our days, which means in order and organization, right? Organization is another word for business, but the organization itself talks about the structure of the business you work for, right? The business is the bottom line, the dollars, the cents, the capital, right? But the organization are the people, their work, what they do. Okay, so there is a separation between the two, but our job in this scripture is to gain the order, right? Teach us to number. Numbering is about ordering, counting, right? Putting things in logical steps, making it practical so that we may gain a heart of wisdom. When you were in first grade, you learned 1 + 1 = 2. You also, before even that, in kindergarten, pre-K, they teach you how to do what? Count. Counting is the foundational principle, but you can't go from 1 to 7. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? It's not 1, 3, 5, 2, 9. No, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The sequential numbering. There is an order and there's also a pattern. Now you can go by twos, but that has to be a rule, right? So we have to gain a heart of wisdom that knows the difference between the two, also knows what is required. So time is something that it's rare resource that God gives equally to everyone. We cannot really buy past time. We can buy back by having more money, right? Which means we can accelerate our lives by paying for services that would cost us time. Time is an expense. It's one of the few resources that God gives out equally, right? Max of 120 years is in the Bible, right? There's people that live to be 100, but that's not a guarantee. We know that the average life expectancy, and don't quote me on that, is between the ages of 65 and 80. And I give a big range because I don't know the exact number. But see, every leader receives the same 24 hours. So we get the same day, right? God willing, we get the same day, right? You never know. Strokes and heart attacks happen on Mondays, early in the morning, okay? The psalmist, in this case, who wrote this scripture, doesn't ask for more time. That the actual gain is not time, right? Because that's determined by God, right? This leader asked for wisdom about what to do with the time. Okay, there's a distinction. You want to know and you want to understand what you should do with your time. Okay? Because leadership is not about activity. It's not about, okay, I'm just doing stuff, right? The blind can lead the blind, right? You can lead people being blind, not having vision. So it's not about what you do, okay? It's about stewardship. It's about stewardship, okay? So let's define prioritization, okay? We're talking about order, but I was talking about you have to prioritize your days, right? 1 through 7, right? You have 24 hours a day. So prioritization, organizing your time. So let's define this clearly, okay? So what prioritization is not? It's not just simply organizing tasks. So I use that as an example to get to this point, because prioritization, it's about deciding what deserves to be in your attention right now, right? What should you be spending your time on is more important. Should I be playing the game right now? Should I be watching TV, or should I be writing my book? Okay. How do I need to prioritize my time? What is the wisest decision right now for me? Okay. Some people, oh, you need to be writing that book. Other people don't realize that you probably worked 80 hours a week, and you you probably need something that is a healthy distraction in your life. Go for a walk instead. That's a twofold product. Now, there are times when exercise could be detrimental. You are already an athlete. Maybe it's time to sit down and rest. Maybe you need rest. Okay. But that is something that you have to learn how to decide. And that only is gained through the wisdom of what to do with your time. A lot of us as leaders believe that multitasking is productive. The fact that we are able to do multiple things at one time and get them all accomplished means that we are being productive in doing, utilizing our time correctly. But when you actually go into research, you're doing minimal amount of things, but not getting as far. You're not accomplishing much. It's rare that you finish when you multitask. You get stuck, and there's a lot of loopholes and gaps and things like that that are found in people who do multitask. The work's not done as thorough as it should be, right? When you multitask, it divides your ability and your attention to whatever it is that you need to get done, right? So multitasking, it's fun when you can do it, and you could get into this role where you get this false sense of accomplishment, right? But you're really not getting everything done. I notice whenever I multitask, there's a lot of holes and gaps in what I'm trying to do, right? And I try to multitask it because I have so much on my plate, so much to do, so many different requirements for my project, or a directive that was given to me by a superior, that type of thing. And it's interesting that happens when you multitask. Have you ever been multitasking, somebody come up and ask you a question? Are you able to answer the question right away? No, because your brain is doing like 5,000 things at one time, right? So it's proven that it reduces the clarity. So also when you're multitasking and you're trying to lead people, your communication is not as clear. It's fragmented. So we don't have the clarity in what we produce. Now, that this need for multitasking and this need for productivity has increased. That's why open source, that's why all of these different types of productivity tools have existed, to help us. These to-do lists, these tasks, these sticky notes. I'm to the point where all of that is even more task oriented. That becomes a headache. I got to put it on my sticky note. I got to put it on my notebook. I got to write it. You got to do all this stuff, right? And I understand why. But 10,000 foot view, I couldn't imagine looking at ourselves and our thoughts and all of the things that we that we do in a day while we multitask. I couldn't imagine actually looking at that and imagining it from an illustration. What would that really look like? Because here's the reality. Most of the strong leaders, and I was looking at a video on Steve Jobs, and we talk about signal versus noise. They don't really try to do all the work. They don't try to do everything. Most of the most successful billionaire, millionaire, multimillionaire dollar CEOs and people who have, transformed our world through technology or systems or business, they don't do everything. They don't. They focus on about 3 tasks a day. And if these are the 3 things that they want to get done, they have to get done. Everything else is just noise. But there's 3 signals that they get done. Everything else, they don't even waste their time taking on the feeling like they're responsible for it. And so they sequence their responsibility. So they kind of prioritize it, like I said, by those top 3 things that need to be done today. And that changes every day. Having long sticky notes and to-do lists and that kind of thing look cool. Well, it actually looks chaotic. But what are the first 3 things that you need to get done, right? And if you accomplish those things, that's only about 20% of the pure tasks, right? And if you do that every day and you prioritize your 24, they said that the success rate for your project, your ability to lead other people increases, right? So ask yourself, and here's a little mini exercise for you. Ask yourself 3 questions whenever you feel overwhelmed and you find yourself multitasking. What must I do, right? What is in my control? What is it something that I need to do right now, right? Then you ask yourself, what should I delegate? And then what should I release entirely? What is something that I can what can I pass off? And then what should I do not? This is work that's not even something I'm supposed to be doing, okay? By doing that, it's showing leadership maturity. And it's understanding that maturity as a leader is not about how much you can carry. It's not about how much you can carry. Your leadership is actually measured by how well you steward what you carry. So how do you take care of your things is more important. How do you take care of your people is more important. It's not about like how much. You can have 30 to 40, 700 direct reports or like 700 people working on you, but do you take care of them? Do you take care of the people that take care of them? In some instances, you take care of the people that 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 take care of those people, depending on where you're at. It's measured by that. And you can tell because it creates healthy teams, right? It creates a healthy environment for people. And so when you do that, it's not about how much, it's about how well, the well-being of the thing that you have been entrusted with. Okay. So here is the internal tension that we struggle with, and it's awareness. We confuse responsibility with control. We think that because you have given this task, we need to hold on to it. We need to control it. I talk about this all the time because myself as a leader, I will tell my team, I do not control people. I control the resources. You have given me the resources, all the tools. That's what I'm managing. I'm not managing you. If I'm managing you, you would need to pay me then. I went that route. I was a personal trainer for years. Pay me if you want me to manage you, but then you have to do exactly what I say. Okay? But you're not paying me. The organization's paying me to manage their resources, and you are not one of those resources per se. You are a reporting system for me. So I control the resources that you need to do the job that you signed the contract with the organization. I just sign off on it. You actually work for the organization. You don't work for me. You work with me. You are my report in this job, but really we work together. I just have a higher level of responsibility. I have more responsibilities than you. That's the difference. The titles in organizations really just mean the level of responsibility. has increased. Supervisor, manager, director, vice president, president, C, then you get into chiefs, and then you get into, upper director, or upper executive roles. CEO, CFO, COO, CT, Chief Transformation Officer, CTOs, all of these type of roles, right? So just because you have something that falls in your responsibility as a leader doesn't mean that it is your job to complete it. You don't have to execute that thing, right? It's not your job. In some instances, you have a task list under you. So, for example, if I am managing a gym, if I'm a gym owner, right? Is it my responsibility to personal train? Right? I offer personal training services, but that's not for me to execute. I'm supposed to sit there as the general manager and make sure that the bills are paid, accounting's done. That's not those are more of the service oriented people that I've hired. If you got your GM in there, personal training people, that's rare. Like, you can like it, but doesn't mean you have to do it. You don't have to do that, man. Go hire up a couple of trainers, a couple guys who can sell personal training, who people like working with. More importantly, people like people they will invest, right? Many leaders just kind of hoard tasks. They hold on to it like, come on now, I can do that for you. Why is that? It's because of fear. In some instances, it's not always fear, but in this case, I'm going to talk about fear. Because, fear is something that you don't think that people do it right. But really it's control, because people are like, I don't think you're going to do it the right way. And I'll just do it so it's done right, so that we don't have to do it again, because we're programmed in lean to not have to do rework. Rework it kills productivity. It's not productive to do work again. However, think about this. It's also how you manage that. So if you feel like others won't do it right, give it to them, because when they do it wrong, the reality is, as a leader, our job is to go back and say, okay, identify those gaps and teach them the right way. So now we see the competency of the people we work with. So turn that fear into constructive leadership management, and just it'll identify some areas, because you need help. You need help. Another big thing about fear and why we won't delegate our tasks is that we're used to things moving at the speed of lightning. What takes me 2 minutes may take Margaret over here, an hour. And have you ever watched paint dry? That's what that feels like. A person who can't type on the computer and you have great computer skills, you pretty much just move them out the way. Like, nah, move out the way, I got it. But that's not. And we do not delegate tasks because the task is done so slowly. It's painful to watch a person take, 400 hours to do something, right? A project, especially with newer staff. And God forbid you work in an organization where turnover is high, and try to manage a high turnover area. Ooh-wee. You have to, and you don't have staff to delegate anything to. You do feel this. But in that case, that's where the fear kind of crumbles. It's more of like the facts. Fact is Junior's just not, he doesn't have the skills to do what I need him to do. I don't have any help. I don't have people who have the capacity to handle the tasks in the level of which the task is needed to be at, right? For it to be accepted. In a way, not having that creates that fear. So The leader, you have to identify, have you been in that situation before? Is this just trauma responses and you're not willing to test your people? Because you may get somebody in there that you don't even realize is really, really good until you've given them a task. Okay. And you realize they get it done efficiently. Okay. We also, and here's a big one, as leaders and leaders with titles, we think that somebody's always after our jobs, right? If I give this person this responsibility, they might do it better than me. And then my superior, my boss, my manager, the person that supervises me will see them and they might bypass me because that person does a better job. That's a fear. Because we feel like we're going to lose the influence over our people because that person does that. We're afraid of the outcome of that person's success, which is wild. But it is a thing. There is an internal tension. You do think about that. This person is trying to outdo me. This person's going around me, going straight to my boss's boss because they're looking for a leg up. They want to put the apple on the desk. They want the apple on the desk so that they can gain notoriety and influence in the department. And basically have people kick me out of my job. They're building a case against me. You get paranoid. You end up turning into King Saul with David. He's after the throne. Well, if he's anointed, he's going to get it anyway. And so as leaders, we have to put the succession plans in place for those people, right? Instead of having this fear of reduced influence. No, that is my exit strategy. It literally is that person. That person's amazing. That's my job. Identifying those amazing people, right? Because I'm like, that person could do amazing in this role. I agree. So I'm just going to keep giving them those set tasks. You know, now I know who I can rely on. See the difference? That's the change. So holding on to too much creates another issue, though. Okay. And I'm guilty of this. I know a lot of leaders are. It's called exhaustion. When we are so overwhelmed and we multitask. Some of us are great at multitasking. I'm not going to hold you up. I'm really good at it. However, over time, it wears at you. Okay? It wears at you. And you can't continue to just keep multitasking. At some point in your life, you will burn out. You will get exhausted in these high dollar value roles where it's very few people that can do what you do. The exhaustion happens fast. It would be interesting to look and see how long most CEOs sit in those positions. Okay. That kind of lets you know the organization and structure. But it's like not everybody can do what you do. So you're highly in demand, right? But because you're in high demand, you take it on the personal responsibility of the job, of the task, or whatever it is that you have to do, and you burn out. You get exhausted. And the problem with exhaustive time periods is you stop responding and start reacting as far as when things hit you. A person can come to you with a problem, just venting, and you're reacting to it. Yeah, Susie. She did that. You're like, man, tell Susie to shut up. That's a reaction. That's not a response. You're not listening to them. All you are attentive to is the emotion of the conversation because you're too exhausted to put the time and effort into actually listening to what that person is really doing or saying. You can't just have the EQ. You can't just have the emotional awareness of the conversation without the content of the conversation, if that makes sense. You have to listen to both to actually respond in the manner that makes sense as their leader. They want to know solutions to their problems. They want to feel like they are heard and seen. But when we react, That doesn't make a person feel heard or seen. When you're exhausted, they'll send an email and you'll hit the emote button, thumbs up. Guilty, right? Hit the emote button, tears. Those are reactions because you are technically in a place where you're either multitasking, you're trying to be every place for everybody, right? Because today's society, instant gratification is all over the place, and we have to be able to, um, you know, give people that instant gratification. All right. It's harder for you to make decisions too when you're exhausted. It's better to make a wise decision. Leadership as a whole for leaders, you can't sustain it with intensity. You have to sustain your leadership and your team with clarity. Okay? So obviously, this moves into the framework or the idea of change, and it works inside the pillar of administration. Okay? The A of the idea. And just kind of recapping, administration is about structure and stewardship. There's nothing else you have to think about other than the structure of what you're doing and stewarding the resources or that thing that you've been entrusted with. So healthy administration asks these questions, or just this particular question. It says, what systems ensure sustainability? What systems ensure sustainability? Do we have a current system that is sustainable? Is our current operating system working? Right? And then can we do this for the next 100 years like this? And we know that as working individuals that the system may work for now, but you always have to have these daggone updates. I mean, they're good things. But then you get an update that system doesn't support, and you have to bring in a brand new system in order to sustain what's getting ready to happen. And we're living in a technological age where that's what's happening. Now the system itself is got a system update called AI. This AI integration, these new software integrations, my concern is it going to be compatible moving forward? Right? Are we going to have compatibility issues? Well, you got these tycoons that are all working together. Fang done took over. Facebook, Apple, Nvidia, Google. Tycoons. They've got the edge on all of this. And who are the little guys that are much cheaper, right? That doesn't have to do the multi-billion-dollar business, trillion-dollar business. Who's in there? There's an opportunity to make millions, right, on these systems. And so, do they sustain our initiatives and our projects as leaders? Do our systems that we have in place sustain it? Our processes, our policies, our procedures, depending on if you're that type of leader. Our system, is it, if you're a personal trainer like I was, in my programming, is it sustainable for my client? Can I just hand them a sheet of paper and say, oh, yeah, that's cool? Is it that simple? Because leadership is not just about achieving outcomes today. Okay. Leadership is not about achieving outcomes. It's about sustaining the outcomes of tomorrow. Strong administration is these things. Strong administration gives you clear priorities. Strong administration delegates these systems, right? Strong administration sets accountability structures. Strong administration has decision filters. Okay. So strong administrators set clear priorities. The priorities of an administrator are clear. When I tell my staff this is exactly what I want, Here's how to prioritize it. For the people who need it in writing, they need black and white so that they'll actually know how to do it. And then delegation systems, I have to have the person that I know will get the job done if I ask them, right? Hey, I'm going to delegate this to you. Okay. But in the delegation system that I've created, I know what exact task I need to delegate. Okay. I know the exact task that I need to delegate. I have the accountability structures. I know how to hold them accountable. And then I'll know how to make the decision and filter it in such a way to where everybody is on board. Okay? Because buy-in is so important. When you can make a decision and run with it, and you have the team, they trust you. Number one, trust, right? And I filter it out through my decision filtering process. And if you don't have one as a leader, make sure you do. And for me, it's the idea. Can I create? Can I grow? Can I learn? And can I manage this change that I'm trying to create? Ultimately, it's a decision. And you got to understand that without structure, leaders default to multitasking. If you're ever multitasking, it's because you're lacking a structure to your day. There's no order to your work day. And that's why I ask that question in meetings or in interviews. If I'm interviewing for a leadership position, I said, what is the day-to-day for this position? What does the day-to-day look like? Because what I'm trying to do is create a framework or a system where I, as quickly as possible, so that I can handle the responsibility of the job. Okay? So here's the reality. When leaders fail to prioritize well, three things usually happen, right? The important work is delayed. So what you really need to get done doesn't get done, okay? Urgent tasks end up crowd your strategic thinking. You don't have the ability to create. You lose your creativity because you're constantly doing urgent tasks, things that need to be done last minute. You're like a firefighter. You're just reacting to the noise. You're responding to urgent problems and tasks all day long. The second thing that happens is your team becomes dependent on you as the leader. And that is exhausting because now you're answering 5,000 questions every single day. They need constant validation. It's not a place where you need to be. You have to set the expectation moving forward from here. Here's what I need from you. If you have questions, write them down or send an email out. I will get back to you as soon as I can. Okay. Those are the structure. That is a structured expectation as a leader. It's okay to do that. Everything funnels through one person in a dependency. And as a leader, that can put you in jeopardy. A person who doesn't get their tasks done correctly are doing them through you. And if they aren't doing it correctly, then they'll blame you for not doing it right. You don't want to be in that position. Lastly, we talked about this, is burnout, right? Burnout happens when you don't prioritize correctly or well, right? That's the third thing, because the structure is just unsustainable. You haven't put a sustainability. You're not truly administering if you're burning out, right? Healthy leadership systems distribute the responsibility, okay? If you put a system in place, you know how to distribute the responsibility, because not everything is your responsibility. Not everything is your control. You have to hold them accountable to what is their responsibility. And a dependent person, in my eyes, they're not doing the responsibilities. Because leadership is multiplying yourself, the values that you carry. Okay. You're multiplying yourself in little nuggets to the people that you lead. Ideas are the most powerful thing. They're seeds they plant in the heads of people. And good leaders plant good seed, right? In the good soil of their brains. I believe there are areas we all have the four parts: the rocky, the wayward, right? The stony path, right? The thorny place. But if I can plant that seed in that good place in your brain, I can multiply something that it just sticks. That emotional resonance that you feel when I talk to you or I give you some inspiration, and it's not accumulating, it's multiplying. Okay? It's multiplying, it's exponentiating itself. And that is leadership. So let's make some rules, and then we're going to apply this practically, and then I'm done. This is longer than what I wanted to do. It's supposed to be short, but I'm sorry. Here's the leadership decision that we have to make. If holding a task prevents your team from developing, it's time to release. If your team's not growing, you got to get rid of that task. It's for me. I got to get rid of that task. My team's not growing in this. No one's learning anything. Morale goes down when they're not learning. Productivity goes down when they're not learning. So we have to get rid of that task. That task is no longer on our plate. Let's build them up. Let's keep them developing, right? Let's keep their minds engaged. Let's keep upper brain thinking going on in the workplace. If releasing a task protects focus on mission / critical work, oh yeah, we're in there. So if I'm releasing a task and it protects the focus of the mission, the task, the critical nature of what we're doing, that is the direction that I want to go. Not everything deserves my hands. Not everything on my list deserves my hands. Some things deserve my oversight. I just have to be present and watching. That's it. Okay? Present and watching. So let's apply this week. Take a task list, divide it in 3 categories. 3 categories are going to be stewardship tasks, development tasks, and releasing tasks. So you're going to put everything in each box. Stewardship tasks, what only you can do. What do I need to steward? Okay. And then you make another column. You say, work someone else needs to learn. And then the third part is saying work that may no longer be necessary. Hopefully, this does something powerful for you. I'm hoping it does something powerful for me this week. Hopefully, it separates an activity from impact. Okay. I'm not worried about the activity of it all. I'm worried about the impact I'm having on other people. Because this is about change and making it real for us. So the clarity about impact transforms leadership effectiveness. Okay. So I'm trying to develop leadership effectiveness. I'm trying to be more of an effective leader. That's why I want to do this. Okay. Great leaders. If you want to be a great leader, it's not defined by being busy, multitasking, looking the part, right? They're defined by how wisely they steward their time. You cannot carry everything. You cannot carry all the projects. You can't carry all the team members. You can't carry this heavy burdens of the day-to-day. You can't carry it, all of it. You just have to carry the right thing. And when you prioritize well, you create the space for what matters the most. And clarity is what matters the most. It's just clarifications, right? And the thing that clarity produces in your life is peace. When you have clarity, there's peace that comes. And structure produces the sustainability that you need. A wise steward produces lasting impact. It's Coach King. Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. Peace out.